Not as interesting as this. Neek.
Oh.
If I said Deion Sanders should be the next coach of the Cowboys, is that right or wrong?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
I've been on the fence about this topic for a while, and then I realized they want to be entertaining. And Deion Sanders is going to give you that, and he has a chance. Actually, I think that personality in the resume that he has a chance to have the respect of the locker room. It's really tough for any other coach to step in there with the sideshow that is Jerry Jones and still maintain the respect of the locker room. I think Deion can pull it off.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I've been around the block and back a few times, not as many times as Paul Finebaum, but close. Paul and I are walking the same route at this point. And this is too much in the ether not to be a thing, right? There's too many people talking about it. So it's coming from somewhere, I don't know where, but it's out there. This is a thing now. Deion to the Cowboys is a thing that someone wants to happen. Paul, does it make sense? You've watched what he's done in college the last few years. Colorado having a nice season. Does it make sense to you for Deion to leave college and become the coach of the Cowboys?
Absolutely. It makes more sense with the Cowboys really than it did even at Colorado, because in some ways it's an easier job. I know that sounds ridiculous, but what he's had to overcome at Colorado to get them in a situation where we're talking about them as a conference champion or maybe even a CFP entrant is really spectacular and one of the craziest stories I have ever seen. But the reason why I think he works with Dallas, and it was mentioned a minute ago, not only does he help the locker room, he might be the only person in America that Jerry Jones will listen to. And that's the most important thing. Yes, he relies on his son, but he would also look at Deion as his other son. And I think that could be the ticket. We all know the glitz and the glamour of the most valuable franchise in sports. You put Deion in there, not only as the centerpiece of that, put him some great coaches around him, which obviously has to happen, and let Jerry pay attention to someone other than himself.
That's the $10 billion question, right?
Yes.
Would Jerry do it? Jeff, I mean, does it make sense?
I love it.
There's so much about it that feels like a show. We keep talking about the Cowboys like they're a show.
Yeah.
What a show they are. They're an unbelievable show. They get great ratings every week. Everybody, but they can't play.
No.
Does it make sense to you to hire Deion Sanders as head coach?
Absolutely. When he hits the locker room, he's an incredible CEO. He's going to get the right coaches. Why? Because people will want to be around him. Mm-hmm. This guy, he exudes success and confidence. Every player who's played wants to be where he has gone. Dude gave, well, I can't say, but he didn't care when he was in the league. He did what he want, how he want. He coaches the same way. When he walks in the locker room, he has a cachet of men. I've been to the Hall of Fame. I should have a separate room in the Hall of Fame. Here's what we should do. And guys, listen. And Jerry Jones can figure out. But the other part, he holds guys accountable. That's what Dallas needs. It's not going to be about the Micah Parsons podcast. It's going to be about what Micah's doing on the field. He's going to get everything. And not that he's not going to allow them to do that.
I'm not saying, I didn't make a face because of that. Because it's not going to be about the Micah podcast. It's going to be about the Deion reality show. He's going to bring that along with him, which I think is important for us to point out all the glitz and glamour and how that fits in well here. But fundamentally, Deion's teams, they've played the type of football that people like me and Jeff really like.
Absolutely.
It's important to make sure that the fundamentals are sound. And I think Deion recognized that. He's played in Dallas. He has the respect. I could see it working. And there's no other coach that I could make an argument. This is a very unique situation. I wouldn't say that Deion is best in every place, but I think because he is so unique, I could see it possibly working here for him.
I loved everything that Paul said because, when the question is posed to me about should the Cowboys hire Deion, my thing is, well, it doesn't matter who Jerry hires next unless Jerry understands that Jerry has to change. Jerry cannot have complete authority, autonomy on everything from the draft to who he gives out money to being the media relations person, to being the spokesperson. He has to relinquish something. And to Paul's point, Deion might be the guy that Jerry says, all right, I cede my power to him a little bit.
Listen, I guess I can't be. I've learned enough not to say I'm certain of anything. I'm pretty certain Jerry Jones is never going to do that.
It's got to be somebody, because all these guys that come in and sort of have to sit. Jerry cuts off the authority of the head coach. He undercuts them, not on purpose, I hope, but he does this routinely.
I agree with that, but I think the point I'm making about Deion is he doesn't need Jerry's backing for the guys in the locker room to listen to
he
him.
comes in with
over
instant
Jerry.
credibility. Instant credibility.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
difference.
That part of it I get, but I mean, it didn't work with Bill Parcells, and he had the ultimate credibility, and
That's
it didn't
fair.
work with Jimmy Johnson, and he had the ultimate credibility.
It did work with Jimmy Johnson. He screwed it up.
It worked. Who screwed it up?
Jerry.
Well, that's my point. Let's get to these CFP rankings last night. The committee got together and released its second version of the playoff rankings. The biggest changes: Miami and Georgia, both upset over the weekend. They were both in the top 4 last week. Miami dropped 5 spots to number 9. Georgia dropped 9 spots to number 12 and is officially on the bubble. And I say that, and I'll let Heather explain it. Again, Heather Dinich, if she would put down the terrible towel for 1 minute, can explain this because she knows better than anybody does how this stuff works. At this moment, and there's